Okay, it says a family wants to finance a home mortgage and is considering three options, right? A 1 year, right here, 1 year adjusted rate mortgage with the low interest rate, a 3 year with the interest rate, adjusted interest rate a little bit slightly higher, and a 30-year with the highest rate. Both interest rates are sensitive to both ARMs, um, sensitive to interest rate changes, and the rates might change, resulting in either higher or lower interest charges. Because the family anticipates staying in their home for at least 5 years, they want to know their total interest costs that they might incur, and they pay same thing that they might pay in these 5 years. These represent the payoff associated with their choice in the future to change in interest rates, and they can easily be calculated using a spreadsheet. The payoff table is given below, which is this one right here. So these are my decisions. We either take 1 year, 3 year, or the 30-year fixed. Then these are my probabilities, right? If the interest rise, then that's my probability. If the interest are stable, or if the interest fall, which are these options over here on the top. So let's go by step. It says part one, use the Excel formulas and functions to determine the following calculations. Type of decision problem. So for the type of decision problem, if we're talking about mortgage, if we're talking about coming out of our pocket, what do we want to do? We want to pay less, right? We don't want to maximize. When we're talking about maximizing, we maximize profit, right? We want to get more. We want to get paid more. But in this case, it's coming out of our pocket, so we want to pay less. So we're minimizing the objective, right? So the case is here is that we want to pay less. So that's what we minimize. So what are the payoffs? So the payouts are going to be interest rates? No. Total interest cost? Yeah, sounds more likely. Number of years? No. So we want to minimize, right, the objective of paying total interest cost. So we want to pay the lowest interest. Now, based on words payoffs. So this is pretty straightforward. We're going to choose the minimum amount the 1 year, the maximum amount the 1 year, and then same thing for the other. So I'm just going to go straight into these. So the minimum of the 1 year, we cannot autofill because of the gap. So I have to hard code. So just make sure we're doing that year that they're asking us. Minimum of these. Okay. And then max of the same. Then the 30-year minimum of these. Okay. And then max of the same. So here for the opportunity loss. So as I was watching the video of some instructions about these, I came out this cheat sheet. So I think it's pretty useful. So it's this one right here. So if we're minimizing the objective, the opportunity loss, the way that we're going to calculate it is the cell, right, minus the minimum of the column. What does this mean? So if we're going to go back here, I'm going to see. If we're minimizing the objective, right, because we don't want to maximize, we're minimizing. So if we're minimizing, there's going to be this one right here. If the rate rise, which is this same cell right here, minus the minimum, right, of who? Of the minimum of the raise rise column. So I'm gonna say hit okay. So I'm gonna take the 1 year minus the minimum of these 3 years, right? So that's how we're gonna do it. So these I can autofill to the side, since this one, for example, is going to take this one minus the minimum of these three, and then when the rates fall, same thing as well. So for the 3 year, so we're going to do the same one. So this one minus the minimum of the 3 of the rates rise column, because that's what we're talking about. And then it's just because I didn't close the parenthesis, and then I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and autofill, and then same thing here. So the 30-year minus the minimum of who? The minimum of these 3 years. I'm gonna hit OK, yes, because I didn't fill out. And then, okay. All right, sounds good. So that's done. So this one, what it basically says is that if we're opportunity lost, this is the way that we're gonna calculate it. It's gonna be the cell, which in this case it was rates fall, minus the minimum of the column, right? And so we have 3 different strategies, and we're gonna go over the strategies right now in part 2. So here's pretty much the answer. So let's go back and let's try to figure out these two so it's easier for us to calculate these payoff values. So if we're gonna go with using the aggressive strategy, so what does the aggressive strategy mean? So when we're talking about aggressive strategy, we're trying to save every penny, the most that we can. So if we're using the aggressive strategy, we're selecting the minimum value among the smallest, right? Because we want to save every penny. So we're going to select the minimum value among the smallest. What does this mean? So in the best and worst payoffs, right? Using the aggressive strategy, we're going to select the minimum value, right? And I'm going to autofill. This is going to be temporary, and I'm going to take this out because these are non-value cells. So I'm going to select the minimum value among the smallest. That's why we use minimum in the formula, because this is the smallest. So which one is the minimum? So the minimum value is going to be the 53, right? I'm not going to put this cell right here because we're going to keep changing formulas in here. So I'm going to reference down to this one, which is not going to change. So I'm going to hit enter. So using the aggressive strategy, we want which one is this one? The 1 year, right? 1 year ARM. So let's go to the next one. We're using the conservative strategy. So when we use the conservative strategy, we want the minimum value among the largest. What does this mean? Well, we're trying to save, but it's okay. We don't want to save up to every penny. So let's go back and let's choose these two first. Again, we want the minimum value out of the largest, right, value. So let's go here. So we want the minimum value out of the largest value. So what does this mean? So we're going to go here, and instead of min, we're going to do max. I think easier way to remember this, for me at least, is easier. It's the formula that we're going to replace in here. It's going to depend on the field that you select here. You see, when we did smallest, we did minimum, and when now we're doing largest, we're going to do the maximum. So out of these maximum values, I want to pay the less value, right? So these values right here, which one is the smallest? The 65.5. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go ahead and reference this one. I can also reference this one because it's the same, because it's fixed, right? So it's supposed to be straight down. Because again, I'm not referencing to these because these now we're going to erase, so we don't have that many numbers and noise that we don't need. So which one is the conservative strategy? Is going to be the 30-year fix, right? 30-year fix. So again, for me, the easier way to remember this is these are going to determine the formula that we use in here. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. Doesn't want to work for me, but it's okay. Okay, now for the opportunity loss strategy. For opportunity loss strategy, I think, and by the cheat sheet that he did, it's the same for both. We're going to use the minimum value among the largest value. But instead of using this table right here, we're going to use, it makes sense, right? Opportunity loss strategy. So opportunity loss. And why are we selecting the minimum value of the largest value? Because we want to take the least amount of loss, right? So let's do the same thing that we did here. We're going to do it here. So what are we going to do? We're going to do, sorry, again, let's do this one first. We want to select the what? Minimum value out of the largest value. So let's see if I can understand this correctly, following the same logic that I did over here, that whatever was here, it was going to be the formula on this side. So I want the maximum value out of these. And then I'm going to go ahead and autofill. And then these I'm going to erase because they're non-numeric cells. So I want the minimum among the largest. Which one is the minimum among the largest? Well, that I understand, it's either of these two. Now, maybe here I have a problem. So, opportunity loss. So, I'm going to select, now here I'm under. So, I'm going to go ahead. Let me take a look at my notes. Yeah, we're calculating the max and we're going to select in the minimum value. So minimum value, these two values are the same. Okay. Let me select, let me do the 3 year first and see if this is correct. So let's do the 3 year. Let me go back here to the answer tab. We're in question 5. Yeah, is a 3 year. Yeah. The 12,500. I have to see why both of them were the same. Okay, but these were my notes. So we're calculating the maximum, right, out of the opportunity loss, and then we're gonna select the minimum, right? So for part 3, they're asking us for the standard deviation, and we're also looking at the sample standard deviation of the 1 year ARM. So I'm gonna select it across, right? Because we're talking about all the 1 year. So here, same thing, and I'm gonna select it across, and then standard deviation, and then I'm gonna go ahead and select it across. Now they're asking us to make a decision, right? What decision has the greatest risk? So what does standard deviation mean? Standard deviation is the gap between the inputs, right? Why do we have a 0 here, standard deviation of the 30 year? Because it's all constant, it's all the same. So the gap between the two, between all of them, are 0, right? There's no gap. So when they're asking us for the greatest risk, we want to select the highest value, right? So which one will be the highest value out of these? So it'll be the 1 year. So this is the riskier decision. Now, part 4, let me go quick over this. So average, same thing, average of the 1 year. And then I'm going to select average of who, the 3 year. So let me go here. And then here, average of the 30 year, which the average of the 30 year should be the same one. Why? Because it's all of them are the same. So decision using the payoff strategy. So what decision would I use using the average payoff strategy? The decision that I would use, it'll be the lowest, right? Again, why? Because I want to pay less 1 year. So it'll be a 64,000. I want to pay less. That's money coming out of my pocket. It's not money going into my pocket. So for part 5, it's using the probability. So here's where we're gonna use this probability table, and as we explain in the other parts, we're gonna use the sum product. So we're gonna use the formula sum product. What do we want a sum product? We want a sum product year 1, right? So we're gonna go here, year 1. I want to know my risk among those rates, right? If it falls, I want to know. And if it's stable, I want to know. And if it rises, I want to know as well. How much am I going to pay? Right? We're talking about money. I want to be clear of how much am I going to pay. So I'm in here for the 3 years, same thing. We're using the sum product. But obviously, I didn't put the formula. I was too busy talking. Sum product. This one, comma, my probabilities. And then I'm going to do the same one here. So product, my 30-year. I want to know, calculating these probabilities, how much am I going to end up paying? Now the decision strategy. So again, money coming in, money coming out. There's money coming out. So I want the lowest. Which one is the lowest? That's going to be the 1 year. So based on this, so using the 3 strategies, the 1 year will be the riskier, but I will also be paying off less. You see here, in average, I will be paying less. And then using my probabilities, I will be paying less. So this is what it's all talking about. Let me go back to answer. This is going to be question 5. So I'm going to hear answers. This is question 5. So as you can see here, I have 100%. And that's the end of the question.